to. So I will be covering those at this time. So color-wise, we always use purple for primary closest color. That I have to purple is red, so I'm going to use that for my primary equation. I assume that you have read this. We're maximizing the product, so I'm going to do product equals x times y because they told us we had two equations. For the secondary equation, I had used green on our notes, so I can still use green here. My secondary equation is x plus y equals 30. Remember, secondary equation has numbers in it. It has some values to help us solve it. So you can choose whichever variable you want to get by itself. I chose y, so 30 minus x is going to be that. So now my secondary equation is going to turn into the product equals, there's an x and then a 30 minus x. Now, if you really love the product rule, go ahead, you can take your derivative at this point. Most of you don't love the product rule, so I am going to distribute first and come up with the equation 30x minus x squared, and now I will take the derivative of this problem with respect to x, since I put everything in there, and I'm going to have my product prime is going to equal 30 minus 2x. What you need to remember is that we're maximizing, we set this thing equal to 0. So 30 is going to equal 2x, and x is going to equal 15. Now that I have my x value, I can solve my y value by plugging it back into the equation, and y equals 15 also. So to finish this up, I would have an x value of 15. Oops, have no idea what just happened there. Have no idea what that is either, so we're going to get rid of that. And come back. All I want is a black pen. Here we go. An x value of 15 and a y value of 15. Those are my solutions. Okay, so we've got one done. On to the next one. It says product being minimized. So my primary is product again. And it's going to equal an x times a y because it's only two numbers. So my secondary said difference this time. Now, it didn't tell me which number was smaller and which number was larger, so you get to pick. I chose x minus y equals 30 equals 50 in this case. Okay, so I also then chose x equals 50 plus y to go back into my primary equation. So my new primary equation is going to be product equals 50 plus y times y, which means, again, go for it if you love the product rule, but I'm going to do product equals 50y plus y squared. Now I'm going to take my derivative with respect to y this time and get product prime is going to equal 50 plus 2y, and I'm going to set that equal to 0. So 2y is going to equal negative 50. My y value is going to equal negative 25. Bring down that x equation. X is going to equal 50 plus negative 25. My x value is going to be a positive 25. So my final answer, y is negative 25, x is positive 25. That would be my solution. Okay, one type of word problem done. So, carrying on to the next one. Hint, hint, I like these problems. So, we are going to be looking at an open box cut from a piece of paper. So here's the piece of paper. It's 18 by 12, and it says it wants me to find the largest volume. So my primary equation is volume equals, excuse me, x times y times z, or length times width times height. You know what? I prefer to write length times width times height. Okay, so we got that. Now, out of this piece of paper, we cut a square, we cut a square, we cut a square, we cut a square. Each of these squares have lengths of x. Okay, so we're fine. But now, this isn't 18 anymore. This is 18 minus 2x. And this turns out to be 12 minus 2x. So my new primary equation, I can do that, my new PE, is going to be volume equals, the length is 18 minus 2x, the width is 12 minus 2x, and when you fold it up, the little height is just going to be x. Again, if you wish to do the product rule, go for it. I am not going to do the product rule. 18 times 12 is 216 minus 36x minus 24x plus 4x squared. And that also has a little x yet behind it. So the volume formula that I'm going to be using is, and I'm going to rewrite it in descending order, is 4x to the third power minus 60x squared, and then plus 216x. Okay, now take the derivative of this. Take the derivative with respect to 0. So volume prime is going to equal 12x squared minus 120x plus 216. And I am setting that equal to 0. Use your calculator. Don't do anything. Sorry about that. My family is silly, and they just needed to know what kind of dog food to feed the dog. Okay, so back to where we were at. I took the derivative with respect to x. I now have this. I said don't be silly. Don't try to factor that because it doesn't factor. This one is going to give me x values. So use PolySolve on that calculator of 7.645 and an x value of 2.354. If you use NSolve like you do in science, you might only get the 7 and then it won't work, so you'll be out of luck. I was going to say this 7 I can't use because it's too big. So it does not sub back in to this up here and this up here and make numbers. Sub that back in and your final answers should be 13.292 feet by 7.292 feet by 2.354 feet. That is how you get that final answer. So on to the last one on this page. So it has a rectangle, and on this rectangle the 35 is the larger side, the 20 is the bigger side, and they ask me to find the largest volume. So again, my primary equation is volume equals, I'm going to do a length times a width times a height. So out of each of these, if you read carefully, you're cutting squares. A square, a square, a square, and a square, which leaves you x and x and x and x all the way around. That means 35 is no longer the side length, but 35 minus 2x is the new side length. 20 is no longer the side length, but 20 minus 2x. So now when I plug it into this primary equation, I get volume equals 35 minus 2x times 20 minus 2x, and then the height, when you flip it up, is just that x. Again, I will not take the derivative of that. I am going to FOIL that out. You have a calculator to help you with the number crunching. 700 minus 70x minus 40x plus 4x squared. And again, that lone x is still out here on the outside. So my volume is going to turn out to be 4x cubed minus 110x squared plus 700x. Okay, so take the derivative with respect to x. Doesn't matter which side you write that on. So volume prime is going to become 12x squared minus 220x plus 700 plus. And again, we set our derivative equal to 0 and solve. Use your calculator. I don't say that very often. And you get 14.235 for one of the x values, and the other x value should be 4.097. Again, you've got to check. Check up here. Check up here. This is too big. So I have to plug that back in, and I should get answers of 26.806 inches by 11.806 inches by 4.097 inches. Okay, that should take care of page 2 of the review. Hopefully